My daughter is missing. Together with my husband, I came to the 1-month checkup for our baby. However, the nurse took our daughter away and hasn't returned. Frantically searching the hospital, a person stood before me.
You need to escape too.
To my surprise, it was the nurse who had taken charge of our daughter. She forcefully grabbed my arm and started running. She seemed frightened by something.
Wait! Where is my baby?
In response to my question, the nurse revealed a truth I didn't know. And I realized the true meaning behind her actions, leaving me stunned. Little did I know that this was just the prelude to the nightmare I would experience later. At 28, I gave birth to my daughter Maria and was on maternity leave. My husband, Nicholas, a senior bank employee, and I were very close.
I love everything about you. Your full name sounds amazing, so let's keep it as is.
Even after marriage, I kept my maiden name to avoid the hassle. We were blissfully happy, but I couldn't help but be curious about Nicholas's secretive side.
I can't share much about my job. There are confidentiality obligations.
He always evaded questions about where he worked and what he did. Given the strict privacy rules, I didn't press further. We both had enough to live comfortably, and I planned to return to work, so I didn't dig deeper. Little did I know that this was a grave mistake, one I'd regret deeply. At that moment, I had no idea the cruel events that lay ahead. One morning, I had just sent Nicholas off to work, and our 1-month-old daughter Maria was sleeping peacefully in her crib. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of someone pounding on our apartment door echoed through the room. Maria might wake up. I hurriedly opened the front door, only to find a thin, unfamiliar woman standing there. Her hair was bright blonde, but the roots were reddish, and the dry ends seemed to reflect her lack of composure. As soon as our eyes met, she began to panic.
I can't work anymore. Please forgive me. What's going on? Who are you?
Despite my questions, she continued to cry and scream, making it nearly impossible to understand her.
I don't know you. I think you've got the wrong person.
Terrified by her intensity, I forcefully closed the door. Still, she remained outside, sobbing and repeating apologies. Should I call the police? Just as I reached for my phone, I heard a thud from the mailbox. The woman blurted out,
I can't take it anymore. Tell him to contact me.
And then disappeared. Tentatively, I checked the mailbox and found a business card inside. On it was the name of a place where a man and a woman might have drinks together. Could it be, was Nicholas having an affair? Did that woman confront me because of him? For a moment, those thoughts raced through my mind, but I quickly dismissed them. Nicholas would never do such a thing. Still, I couldn't shake the unease all day, and eventually, I had to ask him. He's always coming home late, but he wouldn't be seeing someone else, right? That night, when he returned from work, I cautiously broached the subject without mentioning the woman's visit. Nicholas seemed genuinely surprised.
What's going on? Why the sudden question?
I just wondered if you were getting tired of me. It was just a passing thought.
What are you talking about? I'm head over heels for you. I don't talk to other women in private.
He smiled gently and hugged me. Yes, that's right, the woman must have visited the wrong house. Relieved, I still couldn't bring myself to show Nicholas her business card or throw it away. Instead, I tucked it into the kitchen drawer. About a week later, something happened. Nicholas had taken a day off, so we went together for Maria's 1-month checkup. After checking in at the hospital, our assigned nurse arrived promptly. She was about my mother's age and had a name resembling that of a certain movie heroine. Wow, how unusual. As I admired her, the nurse looked surprised for some reason and swiftly took Maria from my arms.
Let's weigh the baby.
Before I could respond, she hurriedly left the room. However, 15 minutes passed, then 20, and still no sign of the baby. Why was it taking so long? Worried, I peeked into the examination room, but Maria wasn't there. I think my child came to be weighed? I asked another nurse nearby, and to my surprise, she tilted her head and said,
No baby came for weighing at that time.
Shocked, I explained the situation at the reception desk with Nicholas. Thanks to the memorable name, they quickly investigated. Turns out, not only did they not know where the child was, but they also couldn't find the nurse.
This is unbelievable. Let's split up and search.
Panicked, Nicholas and I decided to comb through the large hospital. As I hurried down a corridor leading to the back exit, the nurse suddenly appeared before me.
You! Where's my baby?
Before I could raise my voice, she urgently signaled for silence.
Don't worry. I'll guide you to your baby. And you need to escape too.
She grabbed my bewildered arm and led me toward the back exit. She seemed frightened, running away from something. Finally reaching the hospital's rear exit, we found Maria's stroller tucked behind an inconspicuous pillar. There, Maria slept soundly.
Oh, thank goodness.
Relieved, I reached for my baby, but the nurse swiftly scooped her up.
Hey! What are you doing?
Ignoring my raised voice, she urged,
Quickly!
And continued running. Then, as she settled Maria into the child seat of a parked car outside, she instructed me to get in too. What on earth was happening? I couldn't fully comprehend, but determined to reclaim my child, I hesitantly got into the car. The nurse took the driver's seat, and we sped away. Finally, seeming a bit calmer, she cleared her throat and glanced at me.
I apologize for startling you. But I couldn't speak there. We're short on time, so I'll explain briefly.
As she drove, she began revealing shocking truths, showing me photographic evidence that left my heart pounding. This couldn't be. I wouldn't forgive this. And with each revelation, my anger intensified. After finishing our conversation, we retraced our steps. Although there was a minor commotion at the hospital, we had coordinated our story, so there were no issues. The nurse who had taken care of Maria explained that our daughter suddenly started fussing, and she searched for me before the weight measurement. However, at that exact moment, I had gone to a new restroom in a different building. Unaware of this mix-up, I returned to the original spot and claimed that our daughter hadn't returned, causing a commotion. I apologize for causing inconvenience due to my hasty assumptions. As I apologized deeply while holding our daughter, the hospital staff and Nicholas showed relieved expressions, knowing the baby was safe. After firmly shaking hands with the nurse and bidding farewell at the hospital, I began preparing for revenge. From the next day onward, I met with lawyers, conducted investigations, and gathered evidence. With help from my family, I managed childcare. Then, 6 days after Maria's 1-month checkup.
All right, let's go to the movies and have a dinner date.
Excitedly, Nicholas stood in the living room, putting on his jacket. We had arranged for childcare with my parents during the day, planning a rare date night. However, as we headed toward the front door as a couple, we heard a loud pounding.
Let me in! Listen to me!
The voice belonged to the same woman who had visited us before. Without hesitation, I opened the door. There stood the woman. Trembling Nicholas ignored her, but I took her hand and invited her inside. Nicholas protested.
Hey! Don't bother with this mysterious woman.
I can't just ignore her. She must have something important to say, right? I led her into the house, and Nicholas reluctantly followed. Seated on the living room sofa as I suggested, the woman began to speak. Introducing herself as Isla, she explained that she was a single mother struggling financially. She had visited a small financial company seeking a loan and encountered Nicholas. According to her, Nicholas was the owner of a lending business located in a mixed-use building.
What? Weren't you a high-ranking bank employee?
I exclaimed, shocked. Nicholas waved his hand in front of his face, denying it.
What are you talking about? I'm certainly not some petty moneylender.
But Isla stared coldly at him and continued. She felt favorably toward Nicholas, who kindly listened to her debt concerns. He advised her to borrow a large sum up front to reduce repayment amounts. It's a great deal. However, in reality, she was coerced into paying exorbitant interest, making repayment impossible.
This is outrageous!
Nicholas insisted.
It's not me. You've got the wrong person.
As I narrowed my eyes suspiciously, Nicholas repeated desperately.
It wasn't me.
Isla, undeterred, pulled out documents from her bag, loan agreements and transfer records, showing Nicholas's name and the company's name. She tearfully explained that she had already paid off the $20,000 loan but was now being forced to pay an additional $10,000 in interest. When she couldn't comply, she was coerced into working at a nightclub from evening until dawn, as evidenced by her diary entries. The truth revealed by Isla left me trembling with anger.
Using debt as an excuse to force such unreasonable labor. Try putting yourself in their shoes.
I trembled with anger at the appalling story. Perhaps feeling cornered, Nicholas raised his voice even louder than mine.
I'm a top-notch banker. She's lying. Loan agreement? She even went to the trouble of creating such elaborate fake documents.
According to Nicholas, he met Isla at a nightclub during a business engagement. Since then, she had been stalking him. Isla spread rumors that he was wealthy and worked for a major bank, saying, "He'll definitely make something of me."
I kept quiet to spare you worry. After all, our child is still young.
Regret washed over me as I looked at his apologetic expression.
This is the perfect opportunity. Don't ever appear before me again. I want no further involvement.
He glared at Isla, shouting.
To think all this happened. Can I trust you?
I asked Nicholas, and he nodded confidently, embracing me. Isla stared at us with a piercing gaze. Ignoring her, I discreetly retrieved a piece of paper from the living room shelf.
Could you write this just in case your claims turn out to be nonsense?
I playfully handed Nicholas a divorce consent form. Suddenly, Nicholas froze, as if confronted with a terrifying document.
You won't even sign a consent form? You lack the courage?
I showed my disappointment, and he snatched the paper, flustered.
No way. Trust me. Writing a consent form is a piece of cake. I hesitated because I thought that would satisfy you.
He laughed, swiftly signing the document and returning it to me.
Believe in me.
He thumped his chest confidently. Unable to contain myself, I burst out laughing.
We did it! Success!
I cheered, high-fiving Isla. Nicholas stared at our sudden excitement, eyes wide.
You fell for it completely. We've exposed everything.
I spread a pile of photos from a bag on the table. The photos depicted Nicholas frequenting a dubious financial company within a mixed-use building. They showed him taking multiple women to nightclubs, making them work, and withholding their wages after their shifts. Capturing the desperate pleas of these women and his heartless actions made me feel nauseous. Truth be told, I had secretly planted a GPS tracker in Nicholas's belongings and had been tailing him since the day of Maria's one-month checkup. While Maria stayed with my parents, I gathered evidence, discovering that Nicholas ran a ruthless loan shark business.
You're no bank employee. I knew it 5 days ago when Isla told me.
What?
I confronted him with a furious expression. In fact, when Isla first barged into our home, I had used her business card to find her and hear her side of the story. Armed with the facts she provided, we staged this performance together to seek revenge.
Fabricating lies and even calling Isla a stalker. Unbelievable.
I said, and Isla nodded in agreement.
And 6 months ago, you were already using aggressive collection tactics at the hospital.
I recalled the story the nurse I met during Maria's one-month checkup shared with me in the car. Surprisingly, she was an eyewitness to Nicholas's aggressive debt collection tactics. About 6 months ago, a woman covered in bruises was urgently brought in for treatment due to overwork caused by being forced to work relentlessly. While doctors and other staff tried to intervene, Nicholas and 2 other men burst into the room, shouting at the woman,
Pay your debt. Running won't help. I'll chase you to hell.
They even threatened her, saying,
If you can't work to repay the debt, we'll use your life insurance.
Eventually, before the police were called, Nicholas and his companions left the scene. However, the nurse remembered his face vividly. When she saw Nicholas during Maria's checkup, she immediately recognized him as that man from back then and tried to help me, thinking I was unaware of the situation. To convey the truth, she separated Maria and me from Nicholas and shared everything with me.
So, am I about to be silenced and turned into money?
I retrieved a life insurance contract from under the pile of photos. Somehow, it had been taken out in my name without my knowledge.
No, that was just in case something happened to leave our child behind.
Nicholas's continued evasiveness pushed me over the edge.
Marrying into the family just to change your name and extort money from me. How despicable.
I played the recorded audio from the bug I had planted along with the GPS. It captured Nicholas talking on the phone, saying things like,
I married into the family to change my name.
and,
If I erase my wife and child, I'll get a substantial sum.
confronted with irrefutable evidence, Nicholas clenched his teeth and looked down.
I'll report your illegal financial dealings with these women to the police. And of course, I'll provide them with this evidence.
That's ridiculous. Involving the police is excessive.
What are you saying after all you've done? Emotional distress compensation of $10,000, child support of $150,000, totaling $160,000. Plus compensation for the victims. And let the police handle the rest.
I glared at him with contempt, and Nicholas, teary-eyed, bit his lip.
But, I won't agree to a divorce. I'll haunt you forever.
Nicholas seemed determined to harass me as a last resort. He flailed like a child, throwing a tantrum. However, I had the signed consent form.
Well, it's too late for that.
I fluttered the paper, declaring victory. Seeing this, Nicholas seemed to remember that he had signed it. His face paled, and he slumped, defeated. In the meantime, sirens sounded in the distance, and a police car arrived. While Nicholas and I argued, Isla had called for help. Nicholas, thoroughly dejected, was dragged off to the police station. Subsequently, Nicholas faced various charges. It became clear that he had extorted money from numerous people and forced them to work. Even the police officers interrogating him were furious. He was sweating and tearful during questioning. In court, the prosecutor pointed out his actions repeatedly, likely leading to more tears. The lawyer said,
He'll spend years paying for his crimes in a dim room, and the compensation could amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Even if he gets released, he'll work tirelessly to repay his debts. Unfortunately, Nicholas only has money-minded associates. No one will help him. He'll face it alone. On the other hand, I promptly divorced him and began a new life with my daughter. Taking care of the baby was enjoyable, especially preparing her meals. I studied diligently, reading books and sharing my experiences on social media. My popularity grew, and I even published a recipe book. Plus, I got a little friendly with a male editor my age. He's dedicated to his work and great with kids. If things progress between us, I'll share with you more in the future.
How did you like this story? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until next time.